The national debt is a ticking time bomb, threatening the very foundations of our economy. It's a burden that we must confront head-on if we hope to secure a brighter future for ourselves and our children. In this video, we're tackling the pressing issue of the U.S. national debt, breaking it down into simple terms to help you understand its far-reaching implications. Let's get started. 1. The national debt overview. As of early September 2023, the United States national debt had reached a staggering amount of nearly $33 trillion. However, by the end of July 2023, this figure had decreased by about $300 billion. This significant reduction in debt is a positive sign for the country's financial health. The national debt can be broken down into two main categories: intragovernmental debt and public debt. Intragovernmental debt refers to the amount the government owes itself. As of September 2023, this portion of the debt stood at approximately $7 trillion. The remaining $25.7 trillion is held by the public, meaning it is owed to individuals, institutions, and foreign governments. This public debt is a significant concern for policymakers, as it can impact the country's ability to borrow money in the future and potentially lead to higher interest rates and inflation. Managing the national debt is crucial for the United States' financial stability. The government must strike a balance between spending and revenue to ensure that the debt remains under control. This can be achieved through a combination of fiscal discipline, economic growth, and strategic investments. By doing so, the country can reduce its reliance on debt and create a more sustainable financial future for its citizens. 2. Understanding the national debt. The national debt is essentially an accounting record that tracks the government's financial transactions. It records how many dollars the government adds to the economy through spending and how many it takes out through taxes. Unlike personal debt, it is not necessary for the national debt to be zero. In fact, debt can be very useful, especially in emergencies when the government needs to quickly inject funds into the economy to stimulate growth or respond to crises. Since the start of the pandemic, the national debt has increased by nearly 90%. While debt can be useful in certain situations, many economists and politicians warn that the growing national debt can harm the economy. This is because the government is currently using debt for both emergencies and regular expenses, which is not sustainable in the long term. As the debt continues to grow, it can lead to higher interest rates, inflation, and reduced government spending on essential services, ultimately affecting the overall health of the economy. Therefore, it is crucial for policymakers to develop a plan to manage the national debt effectively. This could involve implementing fiscal policies that balance government spending with revenue, reducing wasteful spending, and increasing taxes. By doing so, the government can ensure that the national debt remains manageable and does not pose a significant threat to the economy. 3. Managing debt and interest rates. Managing debt effectively involves keeping a close eye on interest rates and economic growth. When the economy grows faster than interest rates, debt becomes more manageable. This is because the increased economic activity generates more revenue, which can be used to pay off debt. Conversely, if interest rates rise faster than economic growth, debt can become more challenging to manage. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for making informed decisions about debt management. The United States has the resources to manage its debt over time, but this requires political action. The country's strong economy and robust financial system provide a solid foundation for managing debt. However, the government must take proactive steps to ensure that debt levels remain sustainable. This can involve implementing policies that promote economic growth, reducing spending, and increasing revenue through taxation. To effectively manage debt, it is essential to stay informed about interest rates and economic trends. By doing so, individuals and governments can make informed decisions about debt management and ensure that debt levels remain sustainable. 4. Why is debt important? The majority of the United States debt is government securities, primarily in the form of treasury bonds. When the government borrows money, it issues these bonds, which are essentially promises to repay the borrowed amount with interest. The bonds are considered safe and secure, making them attractive to investors from around the world who buy them. Debt is often used to finance emergencies and long-term investments, rather than placing the burden of repayment on current taxpayers. This approach allows the government to address immediate needs without overburdening its citizens. However, the current trend of borrowing for everyday expenses is not ideal. This shift from strategic borrowing to financing routine expenses can lead to a heavier financial burden on future generations. In an ideal scenario, debt should be used to fund critical projects and investments that will yield long-term benefits, rather than being used to finance routine expenses. By adopting a more strategic approach to borrowing, the government can ensure that its financial decisions are sustainable and do not compromise the financial security of future generations. 5. Debt-to-GDP ratio. One crucial metric to assess a country's financial health is the debt-to-GDP ratio. This ratio compares the total debt to the size of the economy, providing insight into whether the country can manage its debt. For the United States, this ratio is approaching 100%, which is a concerning level. Historically, a more stable ratio is around 70%. This indicator is significant because it determines whether the country can service its debt, meaning it can pay back the debt and interest without significant strain. Interest rates play a vital role in this context because as they rise, the cost of servicing the debt increases. This is because the government must pay more in interest on its outstanding debt. The Federal Reserve has been gradually raising interest rates to slow down economic activity and combat inflation. This move directly impacts how much the government pays in interest on its debt, making it essential to monitor these rates closely. The interplay between debt-to-GDP ratio and interest rates is critical for understanding the financial health of a country. As the debt-to-GDP ratio approaches unsustainable levels, the government must carefully manage interest rates to avoid exacerbating the situation. By keeping a close eye on these metrics, policymakers can make informed decisions to ensure the long-term stability of the economy. 6. The impact of rising interest rates. In 2022, the federal government paid a staggering $475 billion in interest on the national debt, which is roughly 2% of the country's total economic output, known as GDP. This enormous sum is a testament to the significant burden that the national debt poses on the government's finances. The interest payments are a major expense for the government, and they continue to grow as the national debt increases. The rising interest rates on government bonds have a direct impact on these interest payments. As interest rates rise, the government must pay more to bondholders, who are essentially lending the government money to finance its activities. This means that the government's interest payments increase, providing a significant income boost to these bondholders. For example, if the government borrows $100 at a 2% interest rate, it will need to pay $2 in interest each year. However, if the interest rate rises to 3%, the government will need to pay $3 in interest annually, resulting in a higher total interest payment. The impact of rising interest rates on the government's finances is substantial. Higher interest payments reduce the amount of money available for other government expenditures, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure development. This can have far-reaching consequences for the economy and the overall well-being of citizens. Therefore, it is crucial for policymakers to carefully manage the national debt and interest rates to ensure that the government's finances remain stable and sustainable. 7. Good versus bad debt. Debt plays a crucial role in the economy, serving as a vital tool for funding large-scale projects and addressing crises like the COVID-19 pandemic. By providing the necessary capital, debt enables governments and businesses to invest in initiatives that drive growth and development. For instance, investing in infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and public transportation systems can boost economic activity and create jobs. Similarly, debt can be used to fund research and development, which can lead to innovative breakthroughs and long-term economic benefits. However, it is essential to maintain a healthy debt-to-GDP ratio to ensure economic stability. Excessive borrowing can lead to a buildup of debt, making it challenging for governments and businesses to manage their finances. This can result in higher interest rates, reduced consumer spending, and even economic downturns. Therefore, it is crucial to strike a balance between the benefits of debt and the need for fiscal responsibility. In conclusion, debt can be a valuable tool for the economy when used wisely. Investing in infrastructure, research, and development can drive growth and create jobs. However, it is essential to monitor the debt-to-GDP ratio to avoid excessive borrowing and maintain economic stability. By striking a balance between the benefits of debt and fiscal responsibility, governments and businesses can harness the power of debt to drive economic progress while minimizing the risks. 8. The misconception about national debt. The national debt is often viewed as a significant burden on future generations, much like a household budget. However, the government's budget operates differently. The national debt is not inherently a burden. It can be a valuable tool when utilized effectively to benefit the economy. This is because the government can use the debt to finance important projects and initiatives that drive economic growth and create jobs. One key difference between the government's budget and a household budget is the ability to print money. The government can create new money to pay off its debts, whereas households cannot. This means that the government can manage its debt more easily and can use it to stimulate the economy during times of economic downturn. Additionally, the government can use the debt to invest in critical infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, and public transportation, which can improve the overall quality of life and increase economic productivity. In conclusion, the national debt is not necessarily a burden on future generations. When used wisely, it can be a powerful tool to drive economic growth and create jobs. The government's ability to print money and invest in critical infrastructure sets it apart from household budgets, allowing it to manage its debt more effectively. By understanding these differences, we can better appreciate the role of the national debt in the economy and work towards using it to benefit future generations. That's a wrap on our overview of the U.S. national debt. It's a complex topic, but understanding it helps us make sense of economic news and policies. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful videos.